CEO's little girl ran to Janitor. "They beat my mom, she's dying." His secret skill shocked everyone. It was just another ordinary morning in the sleek, glass-walled offices of Harper Enterprises. Employees hurried past each other, phones ringing, emails piling up, the usual corporate chaos. But for little Emily Harper, the world had suddenly turned upside down. She ran down the marble hallway, her tiny legs pumping as fast as they could. Tears streaked her face, her small hands trembling as she tugged on the janitor's sleeve. "Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Jenkins, they beat my mom. She's dying." Mr. Jenkins, the quiet janitor who had been at Harper Enterprises for nearly 20 years, froze. Most people barely noticed him, treating him like part of the background. A nod here, a polite smile there, but not Emily. She ran to him like he was the only person who could help. Without a second thought, he grabbed his keys and followed Emily to the executive wing. There in the CEO's office, chaos had erupted. The receptionist looked pale, and security was still trying to figure out what had happened. Emily's mother, CEO Samantha Harper, was slumped against her desk, bruised and barely conscious. Mr. Jenkins didn't panic. Years earlier, he had trained in emergency medical response. Not for recognition, not for money, but because he believed knowing how to help could one day save a life. And now, that day had come. He knelt beside Samantha, gently checking her pulse and guiding her through controlled breathing. Calmly, he directed the frantic employees to fetch water, keep the area clear, and call emergency services. His hands moved with confidence, every motion measured and precise. Within minutes, Samantha's condition stabilized. Paramedics arrived, but the immediate crisis had passed thanks to the janitor's secret skill. Employees who had once ignored him now watched in awe, whispering, "I had no idea he could do that." But it wasn't the skill itself that struck everyone. It was the heart behind it. Mr. Jenkins didn't act for recognition or praise. He acted because a little girl's tears demanded it. Because someone's life needed saving. Because kindness is most powerful when it is quiet, steady and unwavering. Later that day, as Samantha recovered in her office, she called a company-wide meeting. Mr. Jenkins stood there, humble as ever, expecting nothing. But Samantha's eyes were filled with gratitude. "I want everyone to see something," she said, gesturing toward him. "This man saved my life. And not because he's a CEO or a manager or even because he had to. He saved me because he cared. Because he chose humanity when it mattered most." Applause filled the room, but Mr. Jenkins just smiled softly, shrugging. Emily ran into his arms, hugging him tightly. That day, the office learned something far more valuable than deadlines, profits, or quarterly targets. They learned that courage and compassion don't always wear a suit. Sometimes they sweep the floors. And for Emily, the lesson was simple but unforgettable. Heroes aren't always who you expect, and the smallest act of kindness can change everything. Emily clung to Mr. Jenkins as they waited for the paramedics. Are you really going to help her?" she asked, her voice trembling. Mr. Jenkins smiled gently, ruffling her hair. "I'm going to do my best, Emily. That's all anyone can do." They entered the office. The scene was chaotic, papers scattered, chairs knocked over. Samantha Harper, usually the picture of control, was slumped in her chair, her face pale and bruised. Her breath came in short, shaky gasps. "Stay calm, everyone," Mr. Jenkins said firmly, kneeling beside her. He felt her pulse, checked her airway, and carefully helped her into a safer position. "Emily, go stand by the receptionist. Stay out of the way, okay?" Emily nodded, tears still in her eyes, and did as he asked. She watched in awe as Mr. Jenkins' hands moved with precision, calmly cleaning a cut, gently supporting her neck, giving instructions to those around him. "Mr. Jenkins, you know what you're doing," whispered one of the younger employees. He shook his head. "I just trained for this. Someone needed help. That's all that matters." Minutes stretched like hours until the paramedics finally arrived. Samantha was stabilized and whisked away to the hospital. Emily ran after them but paused to look at Mr. Jenkins, hugging him tightly. "You saved my mom," she whispered. "I knew you were a hero." He chuckled softly, a little embarrassed. "I'm just a janitor, Emily. Heroes don't always wear capes." Word of the incident spread quickly through Harper Enterprises. By the next morning, employees who had barely spoken to Mr. Jenkins were complimenting him, some even bowing their heads in respect. But he didn't care about the attention. What mattered to him was the small voice of a little girl who believed he could help. Samantha returned a few days later, still bruised but smiling. She walked straight to Mr. Jenkins' locker and extended her hand. "I can't thank you enough," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "You don't need to, ma'am," he replied. "I just did what anyone should do." But Samantha shook her head. "No, Mr. Jenkins, not everyone would have. You saved my life and my daughter's faith in people. That's more than anyone could ever repay." From that day forward, Mr. Jenkins' role in the company changed, not in title, but in recognition. He was no longer just the janitor. He became a symbol of kindness, courage, and humanity. Employees looked at him differently, realizing that heroism isn't about status, it's about heart. Emily, of course, never forgot. Every morning she would run to Mr. Jenkins's side, asking him to tell the story of how he saved her mom. And each time he would smile and say, "Remember, it's not about me. It's about all of us helping each other when it matters most." In the end, the story wasn't about a CEO, a little girl, or even a janitor. It was about a simple truth. Compassion has the power to transform lives. One small act of courage can ripple through an entire community, teaching everyone that real strength comes from empathy and the willingness to act when someone is in need. And for Emily, Mr. Jenkins became more than a hero. He became proof that humanity lives in ordinary people, ready to shine in extraordinary moments.